Now, right off the bat, for the first hour, I'm going to be spending it in the excellent company of Talk's international editor, Isabel Oakeshott. Welcome, Isabel.
Plenty to talk about tonight, isn't there, as always?
There really, really is. But I did feel, while there was a lot of competition for what I think would be the biggest story of the day, I do think that Scrounger Starmer as a story, as a scandal, is getting worse by the day. So we've discovered today that since 2019, our dear socialist leader has accepted more freebies, more gifts than any other MP in all of Parliament. This, of course, includes what we already knew, that he took £20,000 worth of suits and fashionable glasses from Labour donor Lord Alli. Last weekend it emerged that his wife, Victoria Starmer, took £5,000 worth of free dresses from the same guy, Lord Alli. We also learn that he took £4,000 worth of hospitality at 2 Taylor Swift concerts, £698 worth of tickets for Coldplay tickets. He's taken thousands and thousands of pounds worth of hospitality at Arsenal, where he goes for free. He's an Arsenal fan. He says it's not safe for him to go as a normal fan. And on it goes. And possibly worst of all, Isabel, and this, I think, really does need investigation. Now, you know, I'm sure you have these problems as well. I spend every day in every way being furious about the amount of tax I have to pay on my reasonable income. Meanwhile, it turns out that the Prime Minister last year, his income was a very hefty £404,000. He paid on that £99,000 tax. So in essence, 25%. Now, the rest of us, most of us, are paying vastly more than that. How did this happen? How did this happen? He keeps saying, no rules have been broken. Well, change the rules. This is the Prime Minister. If he doesn't understand what a terrible look this is, specifically, you know, these freebies that he keeps taking, to go to Arsenal games, to go to pop concerts, clothes. Why does a multi-millionaire need another multi-millionaire to give him clothes? And how the hell is he getting away with only paying 25% tax? These are serious questions, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if he's netted an income of 300 grand, then he's not short of a
404,000.
Yeah, but net after tax.
I see. Yeah.
So if he's netted 300 grand, then he's not short of a few bob to buy his own clothes and his own suits. And I don't know what his wife's earned, but he keeps telling us she works for the NHS, so she's got some income, at least of her own. And yeah, I'm trying to think how he could have got that tax bill down to 25%. I mean, even if he were using, you know, if he's got his own limited company and he was trying to take advantage of every possible kind of expense, I still don't see how he would have got it down that low. I wonder whether perhaps there was a lump of inheritance in there or something quite different has happened. It's certainly not a regular way of being taxed. So I think there must be some other element to it. Broadly, people are going to take a very dim view of this, I think. It's just a shocking look, isn't it? And I think I know how he's going to respond to it, don't you? He's going to go on and on about how meticulous he's been in declaring it. And he'll try to imply that actually plenty of other politicians have taken more than him, but they just haven't been as honest. And, you know, how much advice he's taken to stick with the rules. None of that actually matters. It's the overall impression that we now have of a Prime Minister that is feathering his own nest and is in some way on the take. And that is a deeply, deeply damaging thing as far as the electorate are concerned.
They really are. I mean, they really will be concerned by this. And aren't you been around the Westminster scene for a long time now, Isabel? I mean, doesn't it make you sick? You just, it's like clockwork. Every time you get one of these ligging, scrounging MPs in a bit of trouble about what they've claimed on their expenses or some freebie they've failed failed to declare, like the Prime Minister failed to declare his wife getting £5,000 worth of free dresses. He had to do that swiftly in retrospect last Tuesday. Every time they say, no rules were broken, it's important you stick by the rules. Well, OK, if Keir Starmer has not broken any rules, for God's sake, for Christ's sake, it is time the rules were changed.
Yeah, it really doesn't matter whether the rules were or weren't broken in this case. He's in a great deal of political trouble over it. And it's really very bad for all MPs when a colleague, and in this case, the most senior politician in the land, behaves in this way, because it fuels an impression amongst voters that politicians are all at it. And they aren't all at it. It isn't true that they're all at it, but you can forgive voters for thinking that when those at the very top who should be setting an example are making off like thieves with every freebie that they can get their hands on. I mean, one, Taylor Swift hospitality is great good fortune. Two, is frankly downright greedy.
Yeah.
And I just think that this is very corrosive. I don't think it will stop here. I think that now journalists have got a bit between their teeth on this, and they will find other freebies that he's taken. And truthfully, MPs that can afford to minimise the expenses they claim and the things that they take are very well advised to do so. I know that my partner, Richard Tice, has barely taken, well, I don't think he's made a single expenses claim yet. And, you know, this is because it is a nightmare always trying to justify this and that. So in some ways, the less you claim, the better.
Absolutely. And don't forget, he has stated in the light of this growing scandal that you quite rightly say, Isabel, will infuriate people all over the country. You know, even talking in terms of someone earning £404,000 in a year, most people, their jaws will drop and they've never heard of such an amount to earn. So even that. But he stares us in the face and he says that he's going to carry on taking gifts from Lord Ali. He doesn't even feel contrite about this. And he then also says, all MPs receive free gifts, as if that's okay.
It just isn't true. You know, I've been around Westminster for over, I'm sorry to say, it's about 20 years. And, you know, during that time, got to know very, very well how MPs live and how they operate. And it is not true that they are showered in gifts or even offered modest things. And those with the integrity, who have their main focus on their constituents. In this case, Starmer's constituents are, by the way, the entire nation. That's the job he signed up to do. Do not blithely accept hospitality worth thousands or even hundreds of pounds, and they certainly don't accept clothes. And are they to be offered these things? The sensible ones will immediately think two things. First of all, what does this person bearing gifts want from me?
Yep.
And secondly, however tempting these little luxuries might seem, how is that going to backfire on me? How is that going to look when my duty and being paid from the public purse to have this most honoured of positions, my duty is first and foremost to serve the people, not be lavished on gifts as if I'm some kind of emperor.
Yeah, as Rupert Lowe, the new Reform UK MP, put it, a wealthy man who, by the way, is not taking his salary. I think he's giving it to charity.
That's correct.
So he's making a marvellous gesture there. But he summed it up perfectly. He said, the question is do you want your Prime Minister to be a bought man? And the answer is obviously no. And the hypocrisy is off the scale. This is the same Keir Starmer who joined the chorus of fury of Labour MPs when Boris Johnson, you know, received £27,000 to put hideous wallpaper all over number 10 Downing Street. I thought their outcry was justified, but they should try to remember that now that they've got their noses in the trough themselves. And I can tell you this, and you've probably heard this, a lot of people around Starmer are pretty furious about this, because when they go out on on the public rounds to talk to the media, it's really hard to defend this. And I give you the Border Security Minister. She's doing a good job as well, isn't she? Angela Eagle, struggling on Times Radio. Have a listen.
He earns 166 grand a year. Why shouldn't he buy his own glasses?
Well, why don't you ask him?
Well, he's not here. You're here for the government. I mean, if he comes on here, we might try...
I am, but I'm afraid I'm not responsible for decisions the Prime Minister makes.
You're not, but you have an opinion. But should he not buy his own glasses? You're wearing a pair of glasses now. You presumably paid for them yourself. I'm wearing a pair of glasses now. I pay for them myself. Why shouldn't the Prime Minister?
Well, the Prime Minister has had his say on that, and if you next time you interview him, you could ask him yourself. I don't have an opinion.
You must have an opinion
on what the Prime Minister does in these instances.
It's pathetic, isn't it? It's pathetic.
Utterly pathetic. I'm afraid I would expect nothing more from Angela Eagle, a very, very third-rate minister, if ever I've known one. She goes back a long way, and I remember her first time round, and she's not improved since then. How can you not have an opinion?
Exactly.
Grow a backbone and just say what you really think, which is that this is a total nightmare and that he has plunged all his colleagues into an incredibly embarrassing situation. Don't lie to people. Don't pretend you don't have an opinion. We all know what you're really thinking, which is that you're very, very, very angry, to put it mildly, with the Prime Minister for embarrassing the entirety of the government.
Exactly right, yes.